Anyway, let's get to our first topic of tonight,
Okay.
which actually is California based.
Mhm.
Speaking of abortion, um, this actually transpired tonight, but it failed. So we'll kind of lead with the spoiler. Right, this proposal failed in San Diego County. You had told me that it failed. I'm
Yes.
going off
It
of
was like a
okay,
2-2, and so I guess because it was Board of Supervisors, who you
right,
guys have been without the 5th Board of Supervisor for, like, going on 6 months now, I think, which you also had
yeah,
the 4th district had that election tonight.
right.
Results are supposed to start coming in. I should go refresh the page. Anyway, you take over. Go on.
Right. So I was expecting it was going to be 2-2. Terra Lawson Remer, who's actually my county supervisor. Uh, I don't want to get her pronouns wrong, but I'm
You
going to go with
just
her.
did.
Is it her or does she go by they? Anyway, she's non-binary, whatever. And she brought this proposal up to the San Diego County Board of Supervisors. And its whole, let me read some of the articles. This is from the San Diego Union Tribune. County Supervisor Terra Lawson Remer is urging her colleagues to get tough with local crisis pregnancy centers, asking them to consider not just a public education program on their practices, but also filing a lawsuit, including but not limited to shutting down such centers. Crisis centers have recently been criticized for attempting to pass themselves off as abortion providers, using internet search engines to reach women considering abortion and attempting to convince them to reconsider. A lawsuit filed by State Attorney General Rob Bonta last year targets two organizations promoting a practice called abortion pill reversal, which the lawsuit called an unproven and largely experimental procedure. Let's see. Quote, women can end up in a position where they are trying to go see a doctor, to go see a medical expert. Instead, they are being lied to and misled to the extent when they're delayed until their choice is taken from them. So this was her proposal tonight, is that she wanted the San Diego County Board of Supervisors to not only do a public education, kind of like their own PSAs from San Diego County Board of Supervisors, but they also wanted to start suing and shutting down pregnancy crisis centers. I will admit, before tonight, I did not know much about pregnancy crisis centers. I didn't really know that they existed until just this past year, but I did more research and I learned more about what they actually are. So this is from Charlotte and Lozier Institute. Basically answers the question, and this was 2021, so this is a 2020 study. Pro-life pregnancy centers, formerly known as crisis pregnancy centers and also pregnancy care resource centers, are faith-based, community-based, non-for-profit organizations which first began to appear in the U.S. in the late 1960s as abortion was becoming legal, to provide care and resources to assist women with immediate and ongoing needs related to unexpected pregnancy. Their focus on alternatives to abortion, also known as life-affirming services, was and is designed to empower a woman to welcome her child into the world. Today, pregnancy centers provide an expanded range of essential and professional care, encompassing support services, medical care, and resources, usually at no cost to the women, men, and youth they serve. Personalized care is provided with a respectful, compassionate, and supportive environment by trained workers and individuals. Right. So let's see. Just looking over some more facts here. It goes on to say pregnancy centers have been under attack by pro-abortion advocates since first opening their doors. A 2015 California law dubbed the Reproductive Fact Act, which forced life-affirming pregnancy centers to display information, including a phone number, on how women can obtain a free or low-cost abortion, was struck down as unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2019. The Supreme Court ruling was a victory for free speech protections. Similar laws in Maryland, New York, and Texas have been found unconstitutional at the federal court level. Pervasive attacks against pregnancy centers in academia have increased over the past decade. Efforts to demonstrate and validate the essential, highly valuable, impactful care provided at centers remain vitally important to protect the life-saving work they do. So as I understand it, these pregnancy centers are basically the polar opposite of Planned Parenthood, which is if something were to happen, You can go to these centers. They help support the mothers and the fathers and all that. And they give you that alternative to abortion. Um, I don't see the big deal about it. I think Democrats have made this an odd issue. Kind of, they're pro-choice. This is their big thing. They're pro-choice as long as you choose the choice that they want you to, which is go get an abortion from Planned Parenthood. Also, if anyone wants to talk about deceptive titles and deceptive marketing, isn't it interesting that Planned Parenthood actually has really nothing to do with Planning Parenthood, because you can get an abortion, you won't be a parent anymore? That to me seems deceptive. I don't know why we're not talking about that. Um, but this new attack on pregnancy crisis centers, or these pregnancy centers, uh, is an interesting attack by Democrats, that they just don't want people to have this option. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah. It is interesting for especially because these aren't being funded by the state. These are, nonprofits, community based, church based, whatever. Okay, so back to myself, for example. Like I said, abortion was never an option for me. I was pro-life, but I also had to support a family. My mom had told my sisters and I, when we were not super young, but younger, she had known of a family who their daughter had gotten pregnant younger and decided to give up the baby for adoption. But her parents were like, "No, we want the baby," and there was a whole legal fight. And my mom was like, "If you girls are ever in that situation, we will adopt your baby." And my parents did not adopt my baby. I had my baby, but some women don't want an abortion. They just don't see another option for whatever
Mm,
reason, whether it's financial, whether an abusive relationship, whether it's because the guy was like, "No, I'm not sticking around if, whatever." And so there's obviously a million reasons why they're going to go to abortion. It's not necessarily because they don't want the baby. It's just that they don't see any other way. That's where these
mm,
crisis pregnancy centers come in. It's like, okay, you want your baby, we're going to help you. We're going to, and then they can even help you with adoption too, with just getting you through the pregnancy. And I don't see why the state, because I know this is, we're talking about San Diego, but the state, we've talked about it before, has led an attack on this. I mean, they put up a whole abortion access website with, report these crisis pregnancy centers. It's so sick and bizarre to me.
mm.
Because again, women like myself who didn't want an abortion, but there's women that don't have that supportive family who,
Right.
that's where they go.
I also think
So,
it. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it's also, I guess it's kind of insulting to the women who, because they say a women fall for this, and they fall because it's deceptive marketing. And I mean, it's no secret. Like, if you're a pregnancy center or a pregnancy crisis center, and you want to help women choose to keep the baby rather than to get an abortion, I mean, it's not unheard of that you're going to add into your search terms for Google, or whatever, that women who are looking for abortion centers, you might want to get in front of them and say, like, "Hey, wait a second, like, think again, maybe you want to keep the baby. Here's another option." I mean, if you type in anything, you're going to get competing ads or competing search terms, because that's how marketing works online.
Mhm.
But it's insulting to women to say that they get duped, and they don't know what's going on. Because if you were to go to a pregnancy crisis center, and it's very clear they're trying to convince you to not get an abortion, but you are determined to get an abortion, you probably would leave that center and go, "Okay, I have to find someplace else if I want to go get an abortion, because this place is not going to do it for me." So I think that's kind of insulting to those women, to say that they're, I guess, that gullible or that naive, that if they go to these pregnancy crisis centers, that they can't figure out, this place isn't going to give me an abortion or perform an abortion, but I guess I'll just stick around until they might perform an
Right.
abortion, even though they've never told me they're going to perform an abortion. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
not prison. You don't walk in there and you're stuck in there for 9 months now.
no. So I think that's kind of insulting to those women who are, if if that's your goal and that's what you want to do, and you're determined, I need to get an abortion, and you go to a place and they're not going to give you an abortion, then you're probably going to walk out, and the first thing you're going to do is go, okay, where can I get an abortion? And then probably end up at Planned Parenthood. So I think it's just the attack is so weird in the sense that they're like, you can't have this choice, and how dare there be this other place out there that actually wants to convince women to not get abortions, or to convince them that maybe they should be mothers and they should carry the baby to term, and we'll help them and we'll provide them diapers and baby food and clothes and all of this stuff. And like, God, what horrible people that they want to help mothers who are in need, or families who are in need, bring the baby to term, to have the baby, to support the baby when it's born and it's a newborn. I don't see why that's such a horrible thing. Like, so women can only choose one thing in California, according to Terra Lawson Remer, or at least in San Diego County. They can only choose one thing. You have to go get an abortion. You can't choose the other way. Or if you're in Terra Lawson Remer's words, women are too stupid to figure out, if they go to a place that they're not, and they don't get an abortion, that they're going to be stuck there and they can't figure out where else to get an abortion. Does that sound about like the right summation of what this whole issue is? Because that's how I kind of read all of this and their whole attack on these centers.
You do raise an interesting point. And if we are too stupid to know the difference, then I think she's a she, probably shouldn't be on the board of supervisors, because it's a lot of decisions being made by someone who's of the gender that's not capable of making rational decisions, apparently.
Right. I mean, if she thinks women are too stupid to figure this stuff out, she can't be much of a feminist.
She shouldn't be voting. I mean,
yeah.
What am I even doing here right now?
I mean, should we just repeal the 19th Amendment? Is that where we're going at this point?
Yes, but should women be allowed to vote on that?
Should women be allowed to vote on repealing the 19th Amendment? That's a good question. It'd be interesting if women all of a sudden were like, I'll repeal the 19th Amendment if I don't have to worry about being drafted or anything like that. Anyway, there is a 5-minute video I wanted to show because I watched it. And it actually was more informative about pregnancy centers, or these pregnancy crisis centers, and what they do. Funny enough, we started off the show talking about Kentucky. This actually takes place in Kentucky. And I will try my best.
Don't do any air quotes.
I won't do any air quotes.
Like,
no.
Keep your hands just like.
I also need to figure out how to turn that off in iOS. For those of you who didn't watch last week, or maybe you're just an audio listener, we had an interesting. Oh, now I can't do the air quotes. An interesting interruption with confetti and balloons based on the new iOS. Anyway, here's the video. We're going to watch it. It's 5 minutes. I'll do my best to narrate for the audio listeners what's going on. So yeah, here we go.
Less than a day after the overturning of Roe v. Wade, everything seemed a bit too quiet, and I looked at the video cameras and noticed the footage that I was viewing. Something wasn't quite right. We exist to save lives and comfort those involved in unplanned pregnancies while furthering the gospel of Jesus Christ. We're the only pregnancy crisis center in Lynchburg. We have 2 operating rooms that our nurses are able to do the life-saving ultrasound. You would be able to see that flicker on the screen, which is the heart beating. That baby in your womb is a living, breathing, growing thing. And most abortion clinics do the exact opposite. They tell you things like it's a blob of tissue, it's a clump of cells, it hasn't even developed yet. And the reality is that we know life begins at conception. All of our services are at no charge to anyone that comes through our doors. We see anywhere from 50 to 75 patients on a really good month, where crisis is high. During COVID, it was even higher. Roe v. Wade doesn't change anything for what we do. Women will need us now more than ever. When you agree to partner with us and come to our classes to gain the knowledge of what it would be like to be a better parent, what to do with this baby that we're helping you choose life for, we do not want financial resources to be any hindrance in your life. The diapers behind me and beside me, all over me, are provided by anyone in the community. Just an amazing support of churches, businesses, life-affirming individuals. People are very proud of what we do. So I was a bit shocked that we had been hit. I first learned of the vandalism around 10 a.m. on Saturday morning after the Roe v. Wade had overturned. As I approached the walkway from around the back of the building, they had taken crowbars to almost all of our windows, 2 of our doors, and just shattered all of the glass. They had spray painted coat hangers on the sidewalk and put political things like vote blue in red on the stamped concrete. It read, "If abortion ain't safe, you ain't safe."
I'd say anybody who thinks that it's okay to vandalize a center that's aimed at helping women at their most desperate needs are cowards by every definition. They hide behind a mask and they think they're making a political statement. They're absolutely victimizing the very women they claim that they're standing up for.
That was Virginia. Oh, I was all wrong. It's actually Virginia. Virginia Attorney General was the one who was just speaking. And the quote on the screen for those who are listening on audio: over 60 pregnancy resource centers have been vandalized in 2022.
I can guarantee you, if it was the other way, if you had over 40 abortion clinics that had been vandalized, you would hear it on the front page of almost every newspaper in the country. There's been such a, I think, monstrous lie that has been perpetrated in the media. The crisis pregnancy centers are only there temporarily, or they're there to, quote, trick women.
Crisis pregnancy centers that are there to fool people who are looking for pregnancy termination help outnumber true abortion clinics by 3 to 1. We need to shut them down here in Massachusetts, and we need to shut them down all around the country.
So what I would say to Elizabeth Warren is, have you ever...
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, I know you kind of already made this point, but going back to just what Elizabeth Warren just said. So do they think that these crisis pregnancy centers are bringing women in and tricking the women into believing that they gave them an abortion and that these women aren't going to figure out in a few months they're still pregnant? I mean, that's honestly what it sounds like. I'm not being sarcastic.
Right. I don't, again, you would have to begin at the assumption to make their argument feasible. You'd have to begin at the assumption that you believe women are naive and stupid and can't figure out on their own that if they go to one of these centers, they're not going to get an abortion. So somehow they're going to be tricked into not getting an abortion. And if you're talked out of an abortion, let's say you end up at one of these places and you're a woman who's carrying, you originally think, I want to have an abortion. You end up at one of these pregnancy centers and you sit down, you have a consultation with this nice lady, and she talks to you. And all of a sudden you leave there and think, maybe I don't want to have an abortion. Maybe you weren't 100% into getting an abortion. And maybe there's something in you that goes, maybe I don't want to get an abortion. Maybe this person talked me out of it. Maybe I've changed my mind. But you're right. It does begin at that. You would have to start at the presumption that women are stupid and naive and they can't figure out that these pregnancy centers are not going to perform an abortion. Once we finish the video, I want to bring up what she brought up, something as well about the 3 to 1, but we can finish this video and we can talk about it a little bit more.
Have you ever seen the rooms like this of clothes they want to give to young expected mothers, or the ceiling to the floor of just toiletries and diapers and the services they provide?
Shadow an appointment, show her the life-saving measures that we are able to do, and I hope and pray that she would gain a different perspective. Is an open invitation.
What's your message to those who vandalized?
Immediate forgiveness. If you were to dwell on what they had done, false accusations they had made, it would be easy to fall into unforgiveness and even bitterness because you felt so violated. But I know as a Christian, I've walked that path many times, and I won't allow my heart to go down that direction. When they walk through our doors, from the moment they enter our lobby, they receive nothing but love and compassion and guidance and support. We not only help save the crisis pregnancy, we care about the whole person.
All right. So I thought that video was pretty interesting because, well, one, I think it gives you a glimpse of inside of what a pregnancy center really does, the people behind it. Also, the attacks they've been getting, especially after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Again, this is the whole thing that I think sticks in my craw about both sides. The left believes that if you don't allow unfettered abortions and you have a mindset of being pro-life, you're the enemy. That your center needs to be vandalized, they need to break windows, they need to paint coat hangers and write vote blue. Like, it's just this tribalistic mentality of like, you disagree with my position, so therefore I have to act like an absolute crazy person, and destroy your stuff and take it out on you. And the right, again, it's about both sides kind of forcing their views on you, when in reality you watch this video and you go, this center it seems very innocent. They just want to help people and give people a different option. The one thing I did want to bring up, though, Elizabeth Warren brought up in the video, and I saw this headline a lot, that pregnancy centers or pregnancy crisis centers like this far outnumber abortion clinics in America. And I think that's interesting.
I really want to know what you had to say, and you cut out.
I was saying how Elizabeth Warren brought up in the video that pregnancy centers outnumber abortion clinics 3-1. And I saw this headline a lot when I was doing research for the show and thought, that's interesting. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this episode. If you leave people to their own devices and you don't have one side or the other in power forcing their extreme values, look at what sprouts up in its place. Obviously, there's a demand, and local communities are supporting these pregnancy centers, right? Like, if there was no demand for these pregnancy centers, they wouldn't be outnumbering abortion clinics 3-1. But quietly, they've grown and grown and grown, and now outnumber abortion clinics 3-1, and they outpace them. That, to me, shows at the ground level, if you leave people to their devices, this is what happens. You have more pregnancy centers like this as opposed to abortion clinics. And again, if you're trying to push one or the other, and you're like Republicans tonight, you learned in the election, maybe you don't have to force it. Maybe just trust that people are going to move a certain direction. I don't know. Am I completely off base with that thought?
Not. No, you raise another good point that, they are sprouting up, and I'm happy to hear that, because I was actually thinking about that a few nights ago. That's something like I wish more churches were involved with, that like they would start leasing and buying all the properties around existing Planned Parenthoods and just putting in, like, right across the street, right next door, crisis pregnancy centers, and all the local churches would be, funding that, supporting that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point, that there's a demand for that. And something that I thought of during the video is that if you go to Planned Parenthood and you are getting an abortion because you are in like a horrific abusive relationship, you're probably ending the pregnancy but not getting out of that relationship. If you go to the crisis pregnancy center, they're probably helping you through the pregnancy and helping you to get out of that relationship.
Yeah, probably. I think one is, and it's interesting, the Virginia AG brought up the point, if you think that this place is only here to temporarily help you, if any place is only there temporarily to help you, it's probably someplace like Planned Parenthood, where they perform the procedure. Maybe they check in with you later to see if you're doing all right, but that's it. Like they're not there to help you through the pregnancy. Once you have the baby, they give you clothes and food and diapers and all that stuff. They're not there long term.